Welcome to a podcast of fantasy and romance, or as we like to lovingly call ourselves, APOFAR. We're your hosts, Ashley,
And Anna.
explore epic tales of fantasy and romance in your favorite books. We will bring you a wide range of book club books by highlighting indie authors, authors that aren't big household names yet, and yes, covering your favorite big releases. We will discuss the worlds, characters, stakes, and relationships that they created while adding our breakdown and theories as well. At the end, we'll face off in our war games and bring you along. A couple of housekeeping things before we dive in.
First off, this is our spoiler warning. This episode will contain spoilers for all of Shield of Sparrows. If you haven't finished the book yet and you don't like spoilers, this is where you should push pause and go finish the book and then come back and listen. We will have a separate spoiler warning before our war game segment at the episode.
Second, this podcast has an explicit rating. We will be discussing mature themes and we cuss a little. So if you're not ready for your kids to go to school and talk about put your hands on the headboard or how many spicy things can happen on a throne, then this would be a good time to pop on some headphones. Here we go. APOFAR Book Club is now in session. We are going to do world building wonders where we break down the worlds created so they're easier to understand. So last time we talked about the different monsters in this world, and so we just have a few to add this time they talk about in the second half of the book. The first one is a Tarkin, and it is like a tiger. It has black and orange scales, red fur with pink stripes. It can only be killed by a blade through the gullet or heart, and it has white nails and claws. So the second monster we're going to add is called a Caverine. And it burrows in desert sands. It's nocturnal. Its dung is called the Korrigan. And so its dung, the Korrigan, its poop, whatever, binds with Lysa and causes a hallucinogenic effect. So what I am picturing is that little desert fox that's like brown, nocturnal. The third is an Alagask. And they live in swamps and bogs that have a vile, rancid smell. They have lime green scutes, long tails, short legs, and bellies that drag the ground. They can unhinge their jaw and swallow their prey whole. They shed their hides in bogs, and their hides possibly are absorbed into the skin of cave ginger. Obviously, I'm picturing an alligator.
Yes.
For some geography, I added some cities and towns in Quintus and Tura. So the only one for Quintus that I have written down is the capital city, which is called Roslo. And then in Tura, we spend a lot of our time there, so I have more. Alisaria is the infamous capital that nobody knows where it's at, and it's really mysterious. And we still really don't know what's going on there, but we'll get into that later. We have Paris, which is the former capital city on the coast, and it was destroyed in the last migration. And that is where they'll do a lot of their official business, since they don't let outsiders into their main capital. Elder, which is a large outpost, and it is also mentioned that is the furthest outpost from Alisaria, which is supposed to give us some kind of idea of where it is. So I looked on the map, and that makes it seem like the capital city would then be on the border of Ozarth, which I'm not
Problematic.
super smart.
Yeah.
So we'll see about that. I'm like, okay, I don't know if you all should have done that, but it's not my capital. And then Trio, which is our camp in the trees. We have Ashmore, which is a town. Rivali, which is a town, and those homes are built into the ground. And then they vaguely mention a town called Frizon. I don't think they even said what all was there, but so that's a little bit more geography for you. Definitely check out the map. I find the one on the ebook hard to see. I don't know if you do. Like when I try to zoom in on it, it just gets blurry.
A little too small.
Maybe it's user error. But I did buy the book because I need a shelf trophy. So I was looking at that map instead.
Is it better?
Yes, it's real.
You get a magnifying glass out to your investigation?
No, because because
That's
I
so
can see it better.
pretty.
See, there's the edges. Of course, on the camera, it'll still be hard to see.
It's
There it
nice.
is.
Nice though.
Yes, I'm already running out of room on my bookshelf. And I just put it up.
Need a bigger one.
Yep, pretty much.
So now we're going to do chapter chats. Chapter chats is where I tell you about basically what happened in the book. Sometimes I'm more detailed than other times. It's not really consistent, but that's okay. This time we are doing chapters 30 through 63, which is to the end of the book. Right. Here we go. So last time on APOFAR, we have completed the first 30 chapters of the Shield of Sparrows book. Our future queen, Odessa, is in the land of Tura and has just survived an attack of the bear wolves in Ash. She has been noticing that some of the monsters have a different color blood and are more vicious than others. In a drunken state after the attack, the Guardian has admitted that these vicious monsters have an infection of what they are calling Lysa. Okay. So they wake up in Ashmore the next morning, and Odessa says goodbye to Kathleen. And the Guardian takes our girl to the town of Elder, where Xavier has a home. Who do you think Kathleen is saying goodbye to here?
Okay, I'm not sure. Later on, it seems like her and Luella maybe had a thing, like even Odessa mentions that. But then she's saying goodbye to someone here and like the person that she was trying to see, right, if they could work things out, but then said they couldn't. But Luella is not there, I don't think. I think she's an elder with Evangeline. So I don't know.
I'm not sure what their relationships are, but I don't think that Kathleen is saying goodbye to Luella because it doesn't make sense to me. But I am
Right.
curious on who it is and if it's going to come up later. So they travel off the roads, and Odessa wakes in the Guardian's arms on a beautiful cliff looking off into the forest and water spilling over the edge. This is kind of like her cliff that she likes to jump off of at home. So she enjoys that. And we kind of get to see the secret place that the Guardian appreciates and loves that reminds him of his mother. We have a mood ring eye watch going on here. We see a new color in his eyes, a shade of hunter green. Not quite sure what that means yet. Do you have a theory?
The hunter green? It's got to be something to do with like maybe being what he considers home or safe or something. I don't know.
Reflect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that.
Mhm.
Something like that.
All right, so they arrive to Elder, and she has her own suite. And they stay there for a while, which allows her to get to know Evie and just be herself. Odessa stops hiding her hair color and spends time with Evie. They bond, and it blooms into a beautiful niece and auntie relationship. And honestly, the relationships people have with this child are my favorite part of this book. They're so cute. And I love it. I don't
Yeah,
know. I just love reading about it.
she's cute.
One afternoon, Evie shows her around the town, specifically the dungeons where the books have been hidden. Kathleen gives Odessa more books to read, which is frowned upon by Luella. And honestly, we're learning that Odessa's a horrible spy, and Evie is a master at it, basically.
So let's talk about the books because we already know that King Ramsay is burning books. And so Luella and Kathleen obviously have this stash. I know it's mostly Luella, but obviously Kathleen knows where it's at and she can pull stuff from it to give to, whoever. They never really touch on why Ramsay is burning the books. Obviously, if someone is burning
There's
books,
speculation.
that they're
There's
gonna
speculation they cover.
well, if someone is burning books, they're obviously trying to keep you from some kind of information. And is it the speculation that it's to keep other kingdoms from knowing how to create the Lysa? Is that was speculation, right?
That was one of the speculations. Another one was that he's just so pissed off at his wife that he's burning books because she loves books so much.
Yeah, I don't think that's it.
I don't think so
Just
either, but
I think there's something specific he's trying to keep everyone from knowing, and maybe it is just the Lysa thing. But it just seems like she has so many stashed up and all the scrolls, and Kathleen is wanting Odessa to find something out. It's just it feels like there is a lot there.
there is a lot there. And it honestly, it confuses me because he's obvious. Okay, spoiler, but you've already read this damn book. He's trying to figure out how to create his own supposedly army of guardians, right?
Yeah,
So, and he's,
Ramsey.
yeah, Ramsey. Yes, Ramsey. And, but also maybe Odessa's father. He might be trying to as well.
True.
And he's not succeeding. We see that. He's not succeeding. And he knows that his wife did something to create it. And if he's burning all these books without reading them, he might be burning the the knowledge he needs to create it. Makes no sense.
Right. And so that's why I'm like, maybe there's something else he's trying to keep people from knowing. So, bottom line, moral of the story is if someone is trying to keep you from reading something, you should probably wonder why.
That's a very true statement. Yes, I have lots of problems. A lot of people in these books. Ramsey is quite insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So we found these books. Luella doesn't want her to have them, and Kathleen is giving her knowledge and stuff. But also, even if she's trying to poke at things, Odessa is learning things from these books, traditions in this area, how people grow up, how they learn how to fight early on, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So eventually the Guardian leaves Evie and Odessa back to Trio to get her horse, Freya, and to distract Evie from missing her father. On the way, the Guardian that he has Lysa, which is what makes him stronger and faster than other warriors. He became infected by the one-eyed beowulf, the same one that led the attack on Ashmore. I say led because Odessa describes the beowulf, as appearing to have a higher intelligence and almost human quality. They started to learn about Lysa 4 years ago, which is around the same time as the Guardian was bitten. They talk about how Lysa might have been created rather than the natural infection. So, they're headed in the Trio. Shouts are heard that there's attack on the village by Tarkin. The Guardian leads them to Odessa's treehouse, and Evie and her hide while he goes off to fight. Not long after, Odessa sees two children trying to get to safety when one of the Tarkin comes back out of the wood. One child is able to make it up, and Odessa starts to carry the little boy up the rope when the Tarkin attacks and causes them to fall. Right before they're shredded, the Guardian again shows up and kills the Lysa-infected Tarkin. I actually really like it.
Yeah, it is one of my favorite scenes in the second half of the book. I really liked when the two guards came to tell the Guardian that there was an attack on Tria by the Tarkin, and he really wants to send Odessa and Evie away to safety. But Odessa's like, I mean, we're going to be the safest with you. And he knows that's true. So he says, I hate this. And I
Yeah.
just I really liked the, I don't know, anguish. Or what word would you put on that?
Anguish,
Sure.
frustration. Yeah. I
I
liked
really,
how he was telling the guards, you will not let anything get to them.
yeah,
You will not let anything touch them.
yeah.
It's very dedicated. I liked it.
Yeah. So he was really torn about sending them away from him, being with them. So it just showed that he cared. Cause like, I feel like we just had our little turning point in their relationship after the attack in Ashmore. And so you can really see him kind of like admitting his feelings for her more by going to get her horse and then being like, he did not want to leave her and Evie alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also like when she falls onto the ground and Odessa thinks to herself that she could hear the god of or something like that say her name. And in my head, she's hearing the guardian say it. He's shown up, see her falls, and he's like, Odessa! And then he steps in front of the target.
Huh, very
That's what my
interesting.
brain does.
I hadn't thought of it that way. Honestly, I really didn't even think of it twice, just like as a metaphorical like statement, but a lot of times that is not the case in our books and they actually do mean something. So now I'm like, did she actually hear the god of death?
Maybe.
I don't know. Very interesting though.
So the children are reunited with their mother, and the guardian panics over making sure that his queen is all right. They end up in the infirmary, and the guardian is worked on by the foster, the siphon Lysa from his blood. This makes him really tired and weak for a while. Still don't know if I trust the foster.
Well, neither does Odessa. So you're right on
Well,
with our girl.
I don't trust them. It's sus that they're everything like the green blood, and they're like green.
Yeah,
And
that has to be something.
later on, we see some red flags that I'll get to when it comes to them. But also, if Luella has created this and have been working with her alchemists and stuff like that in the city, the capital, how does the Foster not know about it?
Right.
I just, it's sus.
I agree. So we mentioned that Odessa also does not completely trust the Voster, even though the Guardian slash Ransom is seems to be very like in their corner. But she mentions in the book that she has like very good hunches. Well, she says she has hunches a lot. And then she says that she never follows up on them except for this instance where I don't remember what they were going to do.
She had a hunch that he was going to go check out something to do with the monsters with Elisa. So
Yeah,
she
he
was
said, "Do you
following
have those
him.
often?"
Yeah.
Which is
And
funny.
she's growing into herself because, yes, she's starting to not color her hair or whatever, but she's growing into herself and becoming more free because she's like, yeah, I'm going to start following my hunches.
Yeah, I love that. But so her hunches, the Foster are not good. So I don't know. I'm kind of trusting Odessa.
I don't know. We'll see. Like I
Yeah.
said, there's some red flags later that we'll cover.
Yeah.
Okay, so he eventually agrees that Odessa can help him study the Lysa problem, and the duo head out to find the surviving cub of the infected Tarkins. Odessa gains a little bit more respect from the Guardian as she admits that if the pup has Lysa, that she will kill it herself. Luckily, that doesn't happen, and Odessa keeps the only living Tarkin cub to help nurse it back to straight until it's strong enough to be released in the wild. With this new respect, the Guardian asks her if she would kill him when that needs to happen, because he's not even saying that this is going to be an option. It's going to happen. He wants someone to take his life. She agrees, and the Guardian rewards her with his name, Ransom. Okay, so now I'm going to refer to him as Ransom instead of the Prince and the Guardian
The
because that gets
Guardian.
annoying. So Ransom, yay, finally. Odessa takes the little beast home and has been taking care of it. Even creating a baby carrier for it. She's really cute.
Yes.
Out of her old gray dresses that I love that. She hates those dresses so much. And I could just imagine her cutting them. Like, let's use this for that instead.
Yeah.
Evie, of course, is smitten by our little target.
Hmm.
Ransom invites Odessa to travel with him to Ravali to check on a recent attack by a possible infected lionwood. And of course, our new pet is going to go on the trip as well. They meet the paperman, who was injured while he helped defend the town from the infected monster named Samuel Hay. Odessa's immediately on alert and is flustered because she knows this name. This man wrote a book basically shitting on her people, her nation, and her dad, accusing the king of killing her mother.
I do want to say when she's going with him and he realizes that he's walking way too fast for her and then he slows down. I just thought that was a really cute moment where he slowed his steps down to match her smaller steps. So
But I also
that,
think it shows a change in kind of like he's becoming more open with her because she's mentioned that she's done this multiple times and he's just kind of ignored it. So now he's like, okay, maybe I should,
Maybe I should slow down.
maybe slow down and be more accommodating to my wife. I like that. I also liked when Odessa first off went to go speak to the blacksmith and how she was just like making shit up. Just like, you have such
Yeah.
a lovely forge and these lovely tools. I've never seen stuff as well. And the guy's just like preening.
Yeah.
And Ransom is just like, I knew that I could get stuff that
Yeah.
people would love you and start talking.
Yeah. That's true.
So Odessa spends some time talking to Samuel Hay, and we meet his son, who also bonds with her pup, Faze. And what's with these kids liking monsters so much after they see them doing some terrible crap to everyone around them? I don't know. Like, I know that we love cute, cuddly, fluffy things, but these kids have no self-preservation.
Yeah, I thought about that too, especially with this boy, because I'm like, you just saw this horrible attack where your dad almost died, and then you're like, oh, look, it's a cute monster. Right? I wonder if that is going to come into play at all. The fact that Odessa asks when they find Faze, does it have to be a bad monster? Based on how we raise it, take care of it, that kind of thing. So I don't know if that will come into play, that they don't have to be these fearsome creatures if they're just like loved and taken care of. I mean, they are still wild animals, so, but something, something there. I did also note, because of Faze, that both of his parents were infected, but he is not. So I just noted that just because the parents are affected does not mean that the offspring is.
We learn from Ransom that it is not transferred by saliva, and it's only transferred by biting, which gives a really cute, awkward moment between him and Odessa. She basically says, oh, your wife will be proud and happy that you can kiss her and fuck her well.
Yeah. Yes, Odessa, that is
That was
true.
funny. I like that.
I'm still like stuck on this Faze thing, but when she says that she would kill Faze if she had to, like if he was infected, mindless monster, he's like, would you really have done that? And she says, if I had to. And so then he asks her to kill him. But he's doing that knowing that that would also kill her. I was just a little bit like,
That's true.
I don't know.
I
I
didn't think
mean,
about that. That's kind of like weird.
and I'm like, yeah, I guess it is a sacrifice, but I just find it hard to believe that he would ask her to do that when, Xavier already said he'd kill him. So he's already got it taken care of.
Not just Xavier, like a whole
Right.
multiple hunting parties. Like all of his best friends are just like, yeah, man, I'll kill you if I have to.
Yeah. But if Odessa does it, then she dies too. So I was just like, oh, interesting.
It's a good
So that was
point. It's a
interesting.
little weird.
Yeah.
We get a moment, a name for Odessa that this little kid gives her called the Legend Tamer. And the Guardian kind of like smirks at her when he says this. But I think my theory is that this is going to be something in the future and that she does have something going on with her and all the monsters. So I like, right now we have a little note going in there. She's a Legend Tamer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can see that.
Yep. Okay, so Odessa finishes for information from Samuel about this nation and learns that it is actually illegal to have a map. We learn that Samuel is well traveled due to his wife loving to travel and explore, and him going with her. Unfortunately, his wife was murdered, which led to his bitterness with Quintus. But you have to take a blood oath just to enter. The king has been gathering men through the kingdom to be part of his militia, presumably to prepare for the crux, was what our original thought was, or what her original thought was. We learned differently later. The thing is that these men leave, but do not come home to visit their families or write back to them either. They just kind of disappear. Odessa and Ransom plan on leaving at dawn in the morning, but are stopped by the king and his men arriving at the town. King Ramsay meets Odessa and is surprised to find that she's not as weak and timid as his spies have made her out to be. The king demands ransom to be in the capital within a month, and the king's men set Samuel's paper shop, home, place, aflame. Again, burning books. The now homeless father and son leave with our duo back to Eldir.
My point was going to be about the blood oath to get into Alisaria, because I know that you take the blood oath saying that you can't talk about the town, but it just seems like interesting that Ransom is so closed off about it. I mean, I know he took the blood oath and can't talk about it, but he seems to get mad when she brings it up. And he insists that no one there created Lysa. Like, insists, like he knows. So I wrote down, are they a bunch of mindless beasts there? I mean, are they stupid? What's going on that he knows for a fact that they did not create it? I mean, I know we could also say he thinks for a fact because we don't have all the information, but he seems very sure. What you got to
Oh yeah,
say?
he turns hot and cold and all kinds of stuff all the time. It drives me insane. The more I like him, don't get
Yeah.
me wrong, I like him. But the more I read about him, I'm like, why are you so wishy-washy? Like,
Maybe we
stop.
can blame it. We can blame it on the Lysa. It's messing with his brain.
Yeah. Apparently, it's
But yeah,
only
it was
worse.
weird because he was just like, nobody there created Lysa. And we're all like, but then his mom was
But
there
yeah,
and she
and
did.
so obviously it was created there.
So
Not
yeah,
only
I don't know
that,
what
but
to
at
think
the
about that.
end, he starts saying that basically he doesn't want Odessa to go there because he doesn't trust the people in there.
That's another reason I was like, what is
Mhm.
going on in this city that you can't even take your
It's
wife?
very weird. He says that
Who,
he's basically that it's changed. I don't know.
yeah, they did say that. They said Alisaria has changed. And so I wrote that down somewhere like, what does that mean? So I'm very interested to find out what's going on in that capital city. And is it really on the border of another kingdom? Because that, again, seems not the best idea.
Yeah.
But maybe it's Wakanda, you know, and you can't get
It might
in.
be.
Yeah, like you can't see it. Something. It's warded by some Voster magic. I don't know. I'm excited to see what it is, though.
I mean, I could see that with the Foster being the super powerful kind of beings
Yeah,
that could somehow hide it.
maybe
And then they
so.
add the blood magic to the blood oath magic onto it to just kind of keep everything lock and key.
Yeah. And I do like how Tura has adapted to all these monsters and the migration kind of differently than we see in Quintus, where they just kind of hide in their mountain where their castle's at. But in Tura, it's so big, and they have like Rivali that has like the houses built into the ground and all the spikes for the crux and all the different things. And so I just kind of liked how the architecture had evolved to deal with the different monsters that they have to deal with.
Yes, but also disagree.
Okay.
Because, but they would still had 30 years almost to plan for the next crux. And yeah, they've had monsters
Okay.
in between,
Yeah.
but how are you not having these spikes already in the ground, these tunnels already created? They're not like, I mean, the crux has been happening for hundreds of years. How is there not tunnels and safe places that are just being reused every hundreds of years? Like, what? Why? What?
I mean, that's a good point. They should, in that way, I think it's a little different than what I'm saying because I just like how they've evolved, like their architecture has evolved for all the monsters. But yes, for the crux, because they hadn't put the spikes in the ground yet in Elder. And so you're right. They've had a lot of time. Why not just keep them there all the time?
Right? So, drama incoming. They arrive in the town, and Odessa is headed to see her lady's maids when she sees a bit more than she's expected. Jocelyn has been sharing her bed with two men, including Xavier. She heads to her room where Ransom is waiting outside and knows something is wrong as Xavier is chasing her. We have another mood ring eye watch as we see Ransom's eyes turn silver in rage when he realizes that Xavier has hurt his girl.
Okay, so this might actually be a good argument for War Games the last time about reading minds, is he immediately seems to know what the issue is. And like, I mean, maybe it doesn't take he knows, his sexual preferences apparently because he says he likes to share. And so maybe he's already suspecting that, but he just seems to know immediately like you hurt her and I know exactly what you did. Just a thought.
I liked his anger on her behalf. Xavier explains that he's been lonely and had started this thing with Jocelyn to Ransom while Odessa is in her room about the situation. She's wondering why no one chooses her first, but also relieved that he has chosen someone else so that she feels less guilty for her feelings for Ransom. Ransom eventually comes in and tries to talk to her and comfort her. He tells her about how he chose her that day she jumped off the cliff and that he wanted to set her free. She realizes that she's actually married to Ransom and not Xavier, the fake prince. And Odessa is pissed. And I really don't blame her. But honestly, I'm more mad at the backstabbing Jocelyn and Xavier than I am in the situation with Ransom.
Yeah, I'm like, well, first of all, Xavier, you know that's her lady's maid. Like, why? You could have picked
I
somebody else. Why?
like I'm sorry, you're lonely? She's lonely?
Yeah,
Come on. Brielle is
yeah.
lonely?
There's got to be some Turin woman out there that knows the truth that you can sleep with besides her lady's maid.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
And
these ladies'
Jocelyn,
maids.
both of them backstabbing bitches. Right.
Yeah, we'll find out later, but like, I don't trust any of the ladies' maids in Quintus. It's a problem. You don't need one. Don't get a
No.
lady's maid.
Well, I don't know if I trust hardly anyone in Quintus at this point. Have we met anyone from Quintus that we actually like?
Besides Odessa? No.
Besides
Oh, what
Odessa.
about Samuel Hay? Although he did say all that stuff and then backtracked on it. So I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of like Samuel Hay though, but
I do.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Okay.
Arthie is probably a good little brother, but we
I'm
don't know
assuming
him.
Arthie is good, but we didn't meet him. So
So I'm pissed at Jocelyn and Xavier. Less so at Ransom, but she's pissed at basically all of them, which sure.
yeah. Yeah.
Jocelyn is sent back home with a message to Odessa's father, armed with some half-truths. Then Odessa confronts Xavier, who is now called Dre, that's his name, and Ransom in the training ring. Odessa starts a fight with her knives while Ransom dodges and smirks. And honestly, I don't know what it says about me that this scene of her trying to gut him is one of my favorite parts of the book. I loved it, and the last time she tried this, I loved it as well. Maybe female rage is just me happy. No.
Yes.
He explains the situation and why he kept his identity a secret, since he has had a double from a young age. And when he became of age, when he would get rid of the double, he was infected. So he doesn't want his people to know that they were going to lose their prince. This makes Odessa's heart break, and with the idea that he isn't going to survive, but she has fallen in love with him. Mood ring I watch. Ransom knows her feelings, and I believe that he loves her too, and doesn't want to be without her. So his eyes turn gold. This is the first time. And gold is the same color as her eyes. So,
Yeah.
he claims her as his when he also does this.
So do
But
we think there's something more to the gold? I have seen suggested that they're fated mates. I don't know about that, but I do feel like the gold has maybe like a meaning. I mean, he's claiming her as his, and so their eyes matching is kind of poetic. But like, are gold eyes going to be characteristic of a specific people in this book?
I don't know.
Yeah, just something to think about.
Something to think about. Yeah. Well, the sweet moment doesn't last. She breaks that moment and she tries to gut him again and again and again. But she feels resistance in her will to not hurt him, which you've said is because of the blood oath they've taken.
That's what she says after this, but we did talk about
That's what she
that.
says. But
And
I don't think that's true. That's just
I
me.
get why you're saying that because we, pointed out that why would they put that in the treaty if you couldn't hurt them at all? So yeah.
He eventually restrains her and she calms. And his eyes turn a bright green. Days pass and Ransom and Odessa get to know each other more. We learn that Evie is Ransom's sister and that they hide her birthright so King Ramsay doesn't know that she exists. Apparently, Ramsay tried to strangle Ransom's mother, and that Ransom's mother had an affair. She had an affair with someone that she appointed to be the head of her family's lumber trade empire. This guy's dead. Probably not important, but I put it in here anyway. So King Ram killed the lover and tried to strangle Luella. Ransom saves his mother, and Luella is taken to Ozark to have Evie, hence her starburst color. But they return so she could stay with Ransom. Ransom believes that Odessa's father has found a way to break the Shield of Sparrows by killing the Voster. He speculates that he wants power over the other kingdoms and knows that the Voster will not back him. So he will use the migration and secure the land to wait out whatever wars will be waged. So they have this conversation in the wood, they talk, and then all hell breaks loose again as we learn that the bear wolves are attacking Elder. They are led again by the one-eyed wolf. Odessa is trying to save a young boy when she is caught in sights, and the stupid wolf kills the poor little boy because she is trying to save. He then calls all the bear wolves to focus on Odessa, but escapes for herself. She runs for her life, and she is chased by all the bear wolves area. But the Voister priest steps in to protect her with his magic. When all that's done, all the dust clears, and the boys head out to hunt for the, in Odessa's words, the one-eyed murderous fucker. Talking about the bear wolf.
Yeah,
Anything to
I
say so
said,
far?
yeah, about the one-eyed bear wolf, I said he knows things and he tells all his wolfy friends to chase Odessa
All
with
of
like,
her wolfing friends.
yeah, with like 3 question marks after. And then I said, and then he and his besties get away because he like took his best friends with him and was like, let's go.
This
So I
bear wolf is
just,
making his own army. Like, they've never seen this many bear wolves in one place at one time, and then he just keeps increasing numbers. These monsters that
right.
he's turning.
And he seems like he has a human
Mm-hmm.
quality. So it makes me wonder, are there some kind of shapeshifter, which we're going to get into later, but some kind of shapeshifter species, whether like Lysa can cause that or if they already like existed, something, because he just seems like he has human intelligence. And so I don't know, it just feels like there's different types of monsters, even though they're like the same species. They're all bear wolves, but it doesn't seem like they're all equal.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something obviously is there.
Something's there. We'll
Yeah.
figure it out at some point. Okay, so a week later, Samuel comes in to see Odessa and brings her the map that she requested he make. And that night, the human hunting parties return. Tilia is preggo, which cute.
Yeah.
Xavier is
People,
injured, not so cute.
yeah. Okay, well, I was going to say people don't like the pregnancy trope, so I wondered how they would feel since she's a side character, but I think it's cute.
I think it's super cute. I have no problem with her being preggo.
Yeah.
I think it adds dimension to her character and her love story with her husband.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm interested to see where that's going to go. So Xavier's injured and Ransom has finally returned. Not only that, but the Voister High Priest and Brother Dime have returned with him, which sets Odessa on edge, and Ransom is about to learn why. The High Priest, no hi, how are you? just grabs Odessa and she screams and falls in pain. And he doesn't let go. What the hell, my guy? Ransom demands her release and raises his sword in protection. The priest asks Brother Dime if he knew and asks Odessa who her mother was. Knows what? What's going on with her mother? Speak. Tell us things. But we don't get to find out because Evie has gone missing outside of the walls. And the Voister priests just sneak out of town without a second word. Nothing. Very sketch. Very sketch. I don't like it. Okay, so later Ransom shows up to her room to give her a dagger. That was his when he was a child, and tells her to use it against anyone who tries to touch her without her permission again. I love this. And speaking of, I am 100% convinced that he had her sword that she was previously training with a couple of chapters ago, specifically made for her. And I love that.
Why do you think that?
Because there's tons of swords in this nation. We already hear that the blacksmiths are making weapons all the time because this nation is always being attacked by all these monsters. So we know there's weapons. We know that the women train at a young age. So there's got to be swords that would fit her. But it took him forever to give her a sword. And I think he made one specifically for her.
Well, that would be really sweet. I hope so.
No, it's 100% canon in my head.
Okay,
There's no
love
question.
it.
So our lovebirds talk a little bit more. And they share the same theory. Maybe the monsters are attracted to them. But mostly Odessa. He tells her that if she really wants to go back to Quintus, then he will basically go with her and be there for her, which that's really cute. They basically share these theories, but then claim each other as their own. And then we get our first sex scene. Things to note. Ransom has dark striations on his chest, ultimately because of the Lysa. His eye become green, but not just green, but every color of green. And apparently, he is a generous lover. Good for you, girl. It's like I never had someone so focused on my pleasure.
Yes.
Didn't know it could be that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next morning, Xavier and Ransom head out to hunt for bear wolves. They were seen nearby. Odessa is restless and wanders the town. While she is walking, she is attacked by one of the sick men that wandered in the tree row the other day. This man has Lysa, but has not been bitten and strangles her. In self-defense, Odessa is able to kill the man, but is traumatized from all of it. Ransom learns about it and returns to Odessa's side. They spend 2 weeks in her suite being together, which cute. And she is finally healed, at least. Her body is healing.
Yeah. I liked that Xavier had to stay, too.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have to stay. He was like, I'm staying.
No, fake Xavier. Fake Xavier had to stay so that it looked like he was the one taking care of her. I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was pretty cute.
Come in and visit her every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so during that time, Luella has disappeared and Kathleen has taken over Ellie's lessons. One of the books that Luella gave to Odessa to read turns out to be a science journal of Luella's, and Odessa goes out to get answers. Turns out the king has been injecting Lysa into his military soldiers to experiment on them and attempt to make them into warriors like Ransom. But the creator of it all is going to be attributed to the elixir that Luella has made in an attempt to create a stronger human that can outlast the Crux, but also more like a medicine that she created years ago. She has been studying monsters in the land and using parts of them to create medicine with her alchemy. One day, Ransom was injured and she gave him the elixir she herself and others have taken. But in this situation, Ransom was bitten by a bear wolf after he was given the elixir 4 years ago. Ransom storms out after throwing a book back on the table, and Odessa realizes that the book has the same emblem as the one on her necklace. Instead of asking more questions, Odessa goes off to find Ransom. They go for a walk, and he tells her that he's going to leave her to go see his father and to try to persuade him to stop infecting people and die in the process if he must.
So, first of all, why didn't Odessa be like, just take like a minute or two and be like, where's the book from? Because I have the necklace that matches. Like,
Right?
how long would that have taken? And
Right?
would they have answered her? Maybe not. Probably not. But she could have at least tried. I would have been like, what's that symbol mean? I don't
Yeah.
know. Anyway.
We're already in a questioning mood. They're giving up they're talking. We've created the conversation. Ask the question. You're already
Yeah.
there. Like,
I
he
really
can
did.
go be by himself for a minute. I know that you want to go comfort him.
Yeah,
But
he'll be okay
girl,
for a
this
minute.
is important.
This is important.
This is
And
important.
so, also, I did not really see the mom twist coming. I was not expecting.
Of her
Were you?
creating the Lysa.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I
I
didn't.
was thinking it was going to be like, if anything, it was going to be his dad did something. So anyway, I thought the mom thing was shocking.
It was shocking. Odessa confesses to everything that basically her father told her to do when she's over here spying. That she's supposed to try to kill Ransom and find the entrance to the capital. She, after hearing that Ransom is going to go confront his dad, but that he doesn't really have any kind of support, that he's not going to ask the soldiers of this nation to go against their king, and that he literally can't because of freaking blood oaths. Odessa hatches a plan that she's going to go talk to her father and convince him to, one, use all of his healer people that he has over there to help find a cure for our man Ransom, but also use his armies to kind of get back control of what's going on here in Turin. Our couple spends some days together before they plan to say goodbye. Odessa plays with Evie and finds a secret hiding place in Luella's room that holds all the dungeon books that have gone missing along with Odessa's necklace symbol book, hiding under the stairs. Odessa promises Ransom that she will take care of Evie if anything happens. And King Ramsay and an army of soldiers arrive at the gates of Elder. Not only that, but Brother Dime, Banner, and the backstabbing Jocelyn also arrive. Jocelyn the bitch betrayed not only just Odessa, but all of them, because she's informed the king that Luella was there. And about Evie as well, her suspicions about her. The king wants Luella. Banner is demanding Brielle, which is his fiance. Again, these ladies' maids are terrible.
Yes.
Like when I think of ladies' maids in my head, I think of what's that show that I made you watch? Mary, Queen of Scots.
Rain.
Rain. I think of Rain.
Love
Like
Rain.
those girls, like there was some like sketchy things, but those girls had each other's back. And that's what I picture what ladies' maids should be doing. This is not
Agreed.
that kind of behavior.
No, we look out for each other first, girls. Come on.
Right? Okay. So he demands Brielle, his fiance. And of course, Brother Dime wants Odessa. Odessa stands up to the king and holds a sword to his throat. She demands that Luella be set free. And she is set free by the king. But Ramsay grabs Odessa by the hair and then offers Odessa to Brother Dime. All right. So we got a big problem because the Crux have arrived. They have seen the scouts. But apparently there's a scout that's been magnetized to come see Odessa because thanks to her luck, they are now in Eldir. And these people start dropping like flies. Okay. Jocelyn is gouged in two. Yeah. Karma. Halston has his leg cut off. Luella is brutally killed. Ransom continues to fight in his grief, and Odessa snaps out of it and runs for Evie. She readies Evie and Phase and gathers the hidden books she wants and starts to take off for the dungeons. When Red Flag Banner shows up and tries to kill Odessa to get back at Ransom for killing his trafficking brother. Isn't there enough people dying right now? Like, why is he going to kill some more people? And also, how is he going to get away with this? If he did kill her and he goes back home, he's going to be in trouble with the king if that ever gets out.
He didn't think it through.
This is stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway. Okay. So Odessa's lessons have been paying off as she is able to keep Banner at bay, and isn't until he goes for the throwing knife that Odessa strikes to kill him. Xavier is the victim of Banner's throwing knife and takes it to the gut. Banner is dead. Good riddance. Xavier is dying, and Evie is distraught. Odessa is forced to leave him to get Evie to safety by navigating the back streets. The next death we have is Briellis taken to the Shades. They continue on their way and sprint towards safety when Ransom saves the girls and gives Odessa his cuff. Tells her that she needs to leave. Now, she had been speculating that the cuff might also be a map, which, again, is illegal. So now she has a map of the area, and they make a plan to meet in trio in a couple of days' time. There's a tearful goodbye. Odessa makes it to the secret passage, and there she finds Brother Don. Thankfully, he doesn't try to hurt her. Maybe his lesson has been learned. And he tells her to follow him, and off they go. The attack ends, and Ransom has killed the Crux. Okay, and so the Crux is no longer a beast. It has changed into a woman's body. And it lays on the ground, and the woman has the same color hair as Odessa. Ransom storms out of town, and he's going to go look for his wife.
I'm going to look for my wife. We all love the moment.
I'm going to go look for my wife moment.
A my wife moment is always good.
Right? And that's it. That's the end of the book.
Yeah. I thought the ending was so good. So in some of my reviews, I've said, like, there were too many twists. This had a lot of twists, but it was done so well that it like fit, like in all the chaos, all this stuff happening. I loved it. So you can do a lot of twists. There's just a right way to do it.
Yeah. And also a lot of the twists, like we clocked some of the twists from the beginning, but there was quite a bit that I was surprised by. And I like being surprised.
I do like to be surprised. We've just read so many of the genre, and like we read, the YA books that were very similar, that we kind of know, the tropes. So it's nice when something's thrown in there that you're like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. Yeah. So what did you think overall?
I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars, mostly because I liked the vibes. I liked the twists and turns. I thought it was a good read, entertaining. And then I gave it 1 chili pepper because we only really have 1 sex scene kind of area.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Yeah, I gave it 5 stars also. I really liked the addition of the monsters. They made like this other element that was very interesting and changed a lot of the plot of the book. So I really appreciated that. I also did 1 chili pepper for the spice level. It is not a very spicy book. I feel like even the one sex scene that we do get is not that. It's not as open door as some of the other ones that we have had, which is fine because it didn't need it and it was still a great read. So, but yeah, I really liked it and I'm excited about the next one and to see who all is left after all those people died.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
We do know at the end that Xavier, for right now, is still alive, and that Tilia's husband, Halston, is still alive right now, but they're fighting for their lives. So we'll see what happens. Next up is Serial's Tea Time. This is our segment where we cover our favorite characters, quotes, themes, and scenes, which we kind of just added right there. But anyway, we're adding officially the Serial's Tea Time starts. What do you think? What's your favorite stuff?
So, favorite character hasn't changed from last episode, still Odessa. And then as far as quotes go, I wrote down a few for favorite quotes, but one of them was when she says, "No," I whispered. His eyes drifted close, his forehead dropping to mine. "Good. I have no desire to live in Quintus." What? I leaned away. "You are mine." His hands dove into my hair, fingers threading through my curls. "Even if we are kingdoms apart, you are mine. But I'd rather not be a kingdom apart. When I am nothing but dust and ash, Tura will endure. I do not need a crown, and I have made peace with my destiny. But before I step into my grave, my choice is you." So that was one of those, like, yes. One of those really great quotes that just makes you like, oh my gosh, that's so romantic. So I loved that she put that in there.
That was a good line. I like that.
Yeah. I also like when she says, "He gave me the freedom to be myself, to stop hiding. He was a man who'd follow me off the cliff, who'd jump at my side, not pull me away from its edge. He couldn't die. I refused to believe that was his only fate. Ransom might have ruled out a cure, but I hadn't, not yet." So I really like that she says that he's someone who'd jump off the cliff with her because he obviously is, and I think it's great that she found that. Also, we're just adding to the list of women who are looking for a cure this year. So good luck to all of them. And then I also like when he says, I kind of mentioned this part in chapter chats, but he says, "You're really keeping the cat?" Ransom asked. "Did you think I'd change my mind?" Honestly, yes. I smiled at Face. I guess I have a soft spot for monsters. And so I thought that was cute because, Ransom is
He's
her
a
little
monster.
monster as well. Yeah. Okay, and then last one for me. Basically, I just liked the whole book. But anyway, is the very last one, the last scene of them together where he says, "Run, now, Cross." Hot tears drip to the dirt at my boots. "I love you." "Yes, you do. Don't forget." "Never." "Neither will I." It's just like it keeps going and hitting you in the heart. His throat bobbed as he swallowed. "I will find you, here or in the shades." The crux landed at his back, the ground shaking as she dropped, and Ransom, my guardian, turned to fight, to show that bitch who the real monster in Calandra was, to give us time to run. He kept the crux away long enough for me to pick up Evie and sprint through the remainder of the barracks. I risked a backward glance at the last row. The crux flew into the air, high above the fortress's towering walls, beating black wings, a screech ripping from her throat, and Ransom in her talons. I just feel like that was such a good scene. And of course, we love that. It's the first part that was actually the quote. I've been adding whole scenes into my quotes lately, so. But
Oh, I like it.
I love you.
I like the setting of the scene.
Yeah, the context. "I love you. Yes, you do. Don't forget. Never. Neither will I." I just can't. Of
So cute.
course, we know it started out, we talked about last episode, as "I hate you. Yes, you do. Don't forget." So
She
that's
never
where
hated
it
him,
winds up.
and he
No, we know
already
that.
knew that she had a thing for him.
Yeah, it's very cute progression. Okay, so what is your favorite quotes?
So you hit both of my favorite quotes, except for I also love funny lines, which
Yeah.
usually end up in my favorite quotes. So, one of them is Ramsey was a real jackass. It's a shock you even have blood in your veins for all the goddamn blood oaths you've sworn. Let me guess. You can't share the details.
Yes.
She's just so over it. She's like, why is there so many blood oaths happening around here?
Yeah, that's interesting. She's not a fan.
And again, you already heard how much I love Evangeline and everyone's relationships with her. But there's
Hmm.
a scene when Xavier comes back and he hasn't seen her in a while. And he's like, I think you've grown 3 more freckles. She's 5. He's like, I'm going to have to
Yeah,
do a thorough count.
so
So
cute.
cute. He's a good little father.
Yes. Any other favorite moments?
There was a lot of moments I liked. I liked this book. In the second half of this, I told you the viciousness of her trying to cut him in the ring, and he's just loving it. I like that part.
Yeah. We kind of already touched on our favorite moments, but the only other one that I put that I hadn't really said yet was that when Evie's playing spy with her and taking her to the dungeons. I just think it's so cute that Evie like knows all these secret places to take her and it's like, yeah, I found this when I wasn't supposed to be wandering around. So I think it's cute.
Bella's secret place too, and she's
Yeah.
heard about sick monsters that she's not supposed to hear about.
Yeah. I think Evangeline might be my second favorite character. She's just so cute.
I think she's my second favorite for sure.
I like how in the end it's Evie and Odessa together. I don't know where Brother Dime is taking them, but I hope it's somewhere. I hope it's not bad. But I just like that they're two princesses together in the end.
I know.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I will say another one of my favorite scenes was, or I thought it was a really cute little scene, was after their sex scene, she's sitting on the porch, basically on her balcony. And he like comes up and they're talking and he's like, we have training to do. And she's let me get my sword. We'll do it. And she's just down. She's like, yeah, I know. You're all about the training, sure. But he's like, nah, we got training to do in the bedroom. I
Oh
like that
yeah,
she was
I
just
like
down to
that.
just go get dressed and go fight.
And he's like, "Oh no, I was talking about something different."
I'm like, yes.
That was good. I liked that. And then something we didn't really touch on when you went over it in chapter chats is the man that was like infected with Lysa by the king or messed up version of it tries to strangle her. Why is he trying to strangle her? Like, why is it the king who sent him? Because if the king wanted her dead, why not just stab her when he grabs her at the end, but he gives her to Brother Dime? I don't know. It's just like, why did he strangle her? Well, why does she need to die? Which we don't know her whole story yet. So I think it has something to do with that, but I don't know what.
As we go on, we learn that, Luella was strangled by the king, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And Ramsey thought it's because of her affair. And we learn that
Hmm.
probably because Ramsey found out Luella basically gave his son this Lysa.
Yeah.
He's been experimenting on her.
Right.
She's been experimenting on her, and he doesn't
Yeah.
like it. And so he's trying to kill her. So then when the man shows up that ends up strangling our girl Odessa, I think that the king sent the man in to try to strangle Luella and kill her.
See, I know that you said that before when we mentioned it, but I don't think that's it because
It's just my theory.
he, I
I
know,
could be
because
wrong, totally wrong.
well, we can all be wrong about our theories, but Ramsey still loves Luella. Like that is the love of his life. And
It's
so I
true.
can understand him wanting to strangle her in the moment when he thought she like killed their son basically and cheated on him. Not a good combo. That's a moment of like that would be like a moment of passion crime. But I but now it seems like I don't know, it just because even at the end, when the Crux is going after her, he's like wants to call out to her to save her, even though no one can. So I feel like they were there to strangle Odessa, but who knows? That
No, I
is,
think I get that. I just thought it was kind of like poetic if he was sending this man to strangle the woman that he already tried to strangle. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So next up, we have war games. War games is our section that Toy and I play a game. And just for our entertainment mostly. But I think we're going to do the same thing that we did last time, where we're going to debate a topic. You listen as the listeners. That's what you are. And you determine which one has a better theory. You vote. And whoever loses our debate, Ashley and I, good cut in half by a crux, I think.
That's perfect. So, the theory that we decided to debate this time is who the crux is at the end of the book that has the red hair. So, I am going to defend the stance that the crux at the end is her mom. Now, that's not necessarily what I actually believe, but I did go through and try to find information that would support that theory. So here we go on a wild theory runaround from Ashley. But okay, so I'm going to start this off at the beginning of the book. Margot was her mother's lady in waiting before her mother died. So I suspect that Margot is and her father are both trying to keep Odessa in the background on purpose. Margot dyes her hair brown because she doesn't want anyone to know that it's red. We are led to think it's like a beauty thing, but I'm not necessarily sure that's true because that whoever the crux is at the end had red hair. There's obviously a connection there. And if it's that Odessa is a crux, then that's something that they're not going to want people to know. So they dress her in gray. They don't include her in things. They dye her hair. And she's just always kind of in the background. So they're never drawing attention to her. So my theory is that that whole like her never being chosen, her being in the background, wasn't because her father didn't love her. It's because he was trying to protect her. So I know you're probably thinking, how's this prove that the crux at the end was her mom? So I can tie it in by saying that what if her mom didn't die? You know, Samuel Hayes said that he had heard from a drunken nobleman or whatever that her dad killed her mom. And so I wonder if there was speculation about that because they just stopped seeing her. So I wondered if she turned back into a crux. I don't know if this is like a shapeshifter thing, and so they could just shapeshift whenever, or if it's like Lysa somehow comes into play with it. But I think that she turned back into a crux and wasn't able to shift back into a human. So her mom's stuck in this crux form. And I think that she is being held possibly by Odessa's father because he still loves her. I think that her mom is being held in crux form, either in Quintus by her dad or possibly in Elisari. So let's just say that the crux at the end is her mom. When that crux appears, it is right after Brother Dime grabs Odessa and she starts screaming. So my theory is that somehow Cruxy Mom escaped from wherever she's being held and hears her daughter screaming and just goes like crazy on this whole town of people. She wouldn't know who her daughter's was like on her daughter's side and who wasn't. But also, if it does have to do with Elisa, then maybe she's just like more beast than human at that point, which is why she's stuck in crux form. And so she's just like killing whoever. She knows her daughter's in trouble. She can recognize that much, but like she's like, I'm just going to kill everyone because I don't know who's on our side and who isn't. So that is a very random argument as to why I think Crux at the end is her mom. I wrote down so many points that I just kind of summarized them just now but my brain kind of goes all over the place. So I felt like that was the most direct path to my argument.
No, I think you did great. You know how my brain is. My brain's gonna be awful when I do this. It's fine. Totally fine.
So wait,
This is just
I
for
just
fun.
I just want to say if that is the case, that possibly what her dad is looking for in Alisaria is a cure for her mom, or if they are holding her mom there, then looking for her mom. So,
Okay.
um, and I do think that Margot cares for her too, because when they say that they're going to pick Odessa as a sparrow instead of May, she like grabs her arm and it's almost like she's terrified. Like, I don't feel like there's any need to like grab someone's arm that tight over you being mad about a decision. It didn't seem to fit. So I don't know. I think Margot kind of is in on this, like trying to keep her in the background and protect her thing. I'm not saying that she's the best stepmom, but I don't think she doesn't.
She's terrible. What's wrong with all these ladies' maids? I've forgotten that she was
Yeah.
the ladies' maid of her mom.
Yeah, and then so she marries her mom's husband, which is also kind of weird because she's a lady's maid. So I'm assuming she's not like a noble woman. It's just that's an interesting
All
dynamic
of
as
it's
well.
kind of weird. I don't know.
There's a lot to figure out next book. Also, he has removed all of her mom's photos from the hall. Okay. Why would you need to do that if you weren't trying to hide something about what she is? He does not like it when she goes into the gallery of the Crux. Why? I don't know. And she says she's drawn to it. Her father refuses to tell her why she is different.
I can't
I'm just
disagree with some of your theories to go
okay.
along with that, but I still,
Okay, that's
the
all.
basis of it, of that being the mom at the end,
Yeah.
I can't, I don't think you could ever convince me, because the fact of the matter is, I just don't think the author would create that by a mother that she obviously has been wanting to get to know be this creature that is killed by her lover. She never gets to know. She doesn't even know that that person turned into a human. She will never know what that person looked like because Ransom has the body burned. I just don't think if you're going to have a moment of her mother dying, you're not building up the tension for that. So that's one main reason why I don't think it's her mother. I'm not sure if I'm convinced that her mother is dead at all from the very beginning. We have no proof that she is dead. So it could be that she's alive, but I don't think it's this Crux. Yeah, I believe that it was not the mother. I think that the connection with the red hair in Odessa is going to be something completely different. And I have a wild theory that I haven't really even hashed out completely in my head of
Mm-hmm.
what could be happening. Do you want me to go over that?
Is it part of your argument as to why it's not her mom?
No, really.
Are you are you done with your argument
I'm
as to
just
why
gonna
it's
say
not
I'm
her
done.
mom?
It's fine. Yeah.
Okay. So you could judge us based on those arguments. Could be her mom, but I don't actually believe it. And it's for the first thing that you said. It would be such a insignificant way for somebody for a character that feels like they're going to have a bigger part in the story to die. Like you said, and her body be burned and she doesn't even get to mourn her. It doesn't feel like that's how her mother dies, you know? So I that is the only reason that I don't think that it could be her mom at all. So I'm interested to hear what you do think because I have another theory also. So it might be the same. So go ahead with your other theory.
So there's a part of the book where Kathleen has given Odessa like myths and folklore of this nation. And one of them was about this person called Sora who sailed across the horizon and was gone for 100 years. But when she
Mm-hmm.
returned to Calandra, she brought with her creatures and animals our realm has never seen. Some believe this is where our monsters came from. Not all the new gods, but a god we've never known. A god more powerful than any other. It always made me wonder, what stories are out there? What if some are true? What if we burned too many books? That's a quote from Kathleen. And that's what I think is happening in the background. I think that our girl Odessa is a descendant of Sora, this god. And I don't know whether I think the mother is Sora or what, but I do think that she's a descendant and that she brought with her these creatures. Sora did. And that's one of the reasons why Odessa has all these creatures that are drawn to her. We have
Hmm.
a thought process by both Ransom and her that these monsters are kind of gathering to her. Either her little pup is drawn to her. She, like you just mentioned, in her old home, she was drawn to the paintings of the monsters. I think this is a thing. I think that she's related to this person. She's a descendant, and I don't think that the crux or her mother or whatever is being held by one of the kings. I think there's another world that we're not seeing, that's where all the crux are when they're not here. Like, where do the crux go when they're not killing all these people every 30 years?
Hmm.
I think they're there. I think they're on this other land of monsters and gods. And that is where maybe her mother is. She returned back to her home. She had to go back to the world of gods. That's what I think. What do you think?
I agree with you, for the most part. Okay,
Sorry,
so
hold on.
I okay.
One thing. It also comes back to what I was saying about the legend tamer. I think that was a
Hmm.
hint of what was happening in her ancestry
Yeah,
from that little kid.
I do think that what that myth that Catelyn gave for the story about Sora is definitely going on. Like, I do think that that's not just a myth and that Sora brought over magical creatures, and whether that was all of the monsters or maybe it's just this kind that seems to be able to shapeshift, which is actually just a huge assumption because one the only one we've actually seen turned back into a human is the Crux at the end. So is the one-eyed werewolf a shapeshifter? We don't have proof of that. We just think he has like a human's intelligence. So it is kind of a big jump, but I do think it has to do with Sora, and I do think there's some sort of other like species wherever, like you said, wherever the Crux came from, that there's other magical creatures there, and some of them could be shapeshifters. So I haven't completely ruled out that Odessa is a Crux, but obviously not all Crux shapeshift because they mention at the end there, he said, has this ever happened before? And they say, no, none of the other like Crux that they've killed have turned into women. So I don't know whether it's that there's different types of monsters or that if there is some kind of like disease progression where at some point they just never they can never turn back again. I don't know, but something's obviously happening there, and I do agree with you. It's from a different like continent, world, wherever Sora came from. So,
I have two things.
okay.
One, so Ransom never mentions anything about the crux at the end having a certain color of blood.
That's true.
So I don't think it's necessarily you turn into a creature based on your Lysa being infected by Lysa. I'm not sure
Hmm.
if I'm convinced about that.
Yeah.
I like your argument about, because I hadn't thought about it. And you might have just been like BS and stuff. I don't know. But when you were saying that her mom, the Crux, heard her scream and that led her there, I could actually see that be a thing with, you know, that Crux was something different than other majority of Cruxes. And maybe it did hear a scream and come calling to that. And then when you said that, I was kind of thinking, did the Crux actually attack her? There was one time that it went for her, but it didn't sound like
Yeah.
it went for her like headwise, like it was coming for her claws, like in the claws. It was going to pick her up.
Right.
You know what
Exactly.
I'm
That's what I
saying?
thought. Yeah, never actually tried to like impale her, split her in two, whatever. It did try to grab her, well, like my headcanon is it tried to grab her but not kill her. So that's how I was making that make sense.
I
But
also
it
thought it was interesting in the scene at the end when the Crux was going. There was one time where she was standing and hiding, and the Crux had landed, and she thought in italics, telling it to leave, to go away. And the next moment, it flies off. I thought that.
should have put that in my argument from last time.
No, I thought that was interesting. I was like,
That is interesting. Could just be coincidence.
it could.
But yeah, there's obviously something going on. It's just that, like, let's say that the Crux at the end has nothing to do with Lysa, then it just seems like there's a lot more magical creatures than we know because there's obviously something going on with that one-eyed werewolf.
Did
So
we
I don't know.
have an actual direct correlation with green blood with the one-eyed werewolf?
That's a good point. I don't remember. He just says he was infected by, but does it ever mention that that werewolf had green blood?
I don't know.
Why does he assume that's the one that gave? Maybe it's the only werewolf he's been bitten by. That would be.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think he's only been bitten once.
So
But it
maybe
would
he
be
assumed.
interesting if when that fight happened and whatever it's created, whatever, I'm not sure how that works, but that it's not actually infected, but it can infect others.
Hmm.
So it can
Yeah.
carry it, but it's not actually infected, but it does have a intelligence to it.
Something. Yeah. That'll be very interesting to see. Another like thing I'm wondering about is her necklace. We kind of talked about outside of the podcast, but like who it belongs to and what its purpose is. Obviously, it's tying into something. I thought that maybe it was her mom's. This was before I even knew about the Crux turning it into a woman at the end. But like that maybe it was her mom's just because it was hidden in the castle and her mom was also there. I don't know because it's like, well, would her mom have had the same room as her? So I don't know that that's necessarily true, but I was just trying to figure out like whose necklace was that and does it somehow like if she is able to shapeshift or if she is a crux, whatever, does it keep that from happening? I don't know. What do you think about the necklace?
I kind of do think that it's related to her heritage. It
Yeah.
responds to her. She describes it as responding to her and making her warm and like 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 a sponge, like
Yeah.
power type. So I could see it being that. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what that's going to relate to with the journal that Luella's had. And she's not going to get answers from. She's just going to have to read it and figure it out.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be something to do with like her people. Like that journal, that symbol is something of her people. And so I'm not exactly sure what, but something. So we'll see about that. And then I do think it's interesting that I think something will come back with her being poisoned with the finnick tusk powder
I think so too.
because she had like symptoms of Lysa, kind of. You know, like she had the fever, which is what Ransom had when he was bitten. He was delirious with fever for like a week or something. And she had a similar like set of symptoms and the healer didn't know how she survived. So that definitely feels like it's going to be something later on. I know people have speculated and that maybe her blood is going to be the cure to Lysa and I could see that happening. That's not unheard of in these books. So it's a possibility. I don't know, but something seems like with the finnick test powder in her.
I think it's interesting. I'm not quite sure. Even if it doesn't come back to be anything like that, I still think it was important to know because it still gives you kind of like the hint of she's not quite normal, right? She's got these
Right.
powers, and which I think is related to her ancestry and that she's related to this possible other god. That's just me. So I don't know. But it could be anything. It could be like a different sect of like maybe it's a sisterhood versus the brotherhood of the moister.
Yeah, because she doesn't even have, the starburst. We talked about that. And
Yeah,
so there's a reason her eyes are different. Maybe she wasn't born in Calandra.
maybe
Maybe she
not.
was born wherever, the crux go.
I don't know if it's really addressed Ransom's eyes. Like, has he always had these eyes that change colors, or did this change with Lysa?
Right. I wrote that down too. Like, is that a sign of Lysa that his eyes turn colors? Is this like him turning into a monster type thing? Or especially when they turn gold, because I'm like, because her eyes are gold. I don't know. There's definitely, it feels like there's something with his eyes because it never addresses why do they change. And I don't think she ever asks him because I think I would have been like, what's up with your eyes?
No, I agree. And then, like I said, I went down a rabbit hole looking up those 100 years kind of thing. Can't decide if any of it is going to be important. But it's just kind of weird because I was trying to figure out, like, 100 years ago, the king's son was murdered when he was 15,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then they started doing the double. And the last sparrow came to Tura was from Lane, the other country. And that was also 100 years ago. So that person was the mother of the son that was murdered, I think. And then there's a couple other things. So I don't
Hmm.
know. Like, I just kept on like thinking to myself, why are you telling me this? It's not important. And I haven't hashed it out quite.
I felt like we have been given a lot of clues, and I almost feel like Odessa did at the end, where and maybe she even wrote that on purpose, where she's like, I have all these clues. I know I'm almost putting it together. Like I feel like that right now, and so maybe she's given us like plenty of clues to put it together. Of course, I know they always think that, and then we're all like, what are you talking about?
Well, she's
So I
following her
don't know.
hunches now. And so
Yes.
far, with her following her hunches, she's been right.
Yeah, I hope she continues to do so. So.
Which brings me a question of, again, the Foister. Are they good? Are they bad? Where is this dime guy going to take her? Because we know that she needs to go to Trio to meet back up with Ransom. But I can imagine that Brother Dime is going to take her to the capital city where I think all the Foister are.
Yeah, I don't think that he's taking her to Trio. Sorry. Sorry, Odessa, but I don't think that's happening. So, because otherwise they'd reunite too soon and, we need some of that, like, are they gonna make it back to each other kind of tension. So, I think it'll be a little bit into our second book before they're back together, but I think that there's going to be good and bad within the roster. I kind of feel like Brother Dime is going to be a good one. I hope. Maybe I'm just hoping that because that's where Odessa and Evie wound up. But I think we're going to see like good Foster and bad Foster.
Probably. To kind of wrap this all up, our next episode will be covering Starheart by Lana B. Knight. So look out for that.
Thank you so much for listening. We are a baby podcast, so it would be so helpful if you would rate and review us on your podcast listening platform. You can also follow us on social media, a podcast of fantasy and romance on Instagram and YouTube, and a pod of fantasy and romance on TikTok. It's been epic. We'll see you next time.